The whole, call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
President Weatherspoon.
Still here.
Trustee Martin.
I'm here.
Trustee Pierce.
Here.
Trustee McManus.
Yes.
Trustee Spillman.
Here.
Trustee Lambert.
Here.
Trustee Wishaw is excused.
Okay, approval of the minutes from Committee of the Whole, March 3. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 3, 2026.
Thank
I'll
you, Nancy.
second.
Mike, any discussion on minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public comment, are you ready?
Yes.
Public comment.
Come on up. Yep.
Yeah, so, well, 2-minute opportunity for citizens to voice their opinions. Committee of the Whole may not respond. This may conflict with open meeting requirements. Name and address, please.
Thank you.
Is that microphone?
That thing
Hold
turned
a
on?
second.
The microphone might not be on.
What mic is that?
It's in,
You got it?
you got it?
Go for it.
Not really a comment, but the logo, protecting the logo,
Mhm.
when was that created as a logo?
I have
Years?
no
We don't
idea.
know.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
When, back in the day when it was actually a village and not a city?
Probably a town.
A
Town.
town, probably.
Right,
Yeah.
so, I mean, we're protecting the logo that doesn't even apply to a village anymore. We're a city.
No, we're not.
No, we're a
We're-
village.
Yes,
No,
no,
we're
we're not.
We're a
We're a
village.
village.
We're a village.
We're a city.
We're a village.
25,000 qualifies as a city, not a village.
But
We're a
We're a
village.
We're a
We're a
village.
village.
We went from town to village.
And what makes this a village?
That's a long
A
discussion.
name?
That's a very
No,
long.
no, it's not our Public name. comment, and we can't really
Yeah,
discuss
it's public comment, so we're not.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
but we are a village. We are a village.
all right. You may want to look up the definition of a village.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up. How you doing? Not good.
We're the largest.
Hi.
Still breathing on your own. You're doing really good. You're still breathing on your own.
Well, that's,
Yeah, that's good.
I'm walking, talking, got arms. No, the only thing I want to bring, I thought we were
Name
going
and
to,
address
time
first.
out. Oh, Larry Scholes, 4718 North Green Bay Road
Thank you, Leonard.
in Caledonia. Okay, well, it made me lose my concentration. I'm 74
Sorry,
years
Kelly.
old.
I know you guys are.
Yeah. But here's, I just, are we gonna see what they're gonna build tonight? Is that what this meeting was gonna present, I thought? They were supposed to present based, plans on drawings on what the buildings are gonna be looking like and what the.
Which buildings you talking
You're
about?
talking about 4 Mile and.
4 Mile and Green Bay Road,
The Mosquito Inn project.
yeah.
We don't have that with us. Do you have that with you?
We
Well,
have the concept that was presented to the Plan Commission as well as the Village Board back when it was a land use amendment and,
Well, that was what
a
you put on the
rezone.
last time.
yep, at the February
You're supposed
23rd
to
meeting,
do
those
better.
photos were showed. The next level of review is the building site and operation plan, which will be presented tentatively scheduled for the March 30th Plan Commission meeting. And so we're right now compiling their details, so they'll have more details on the architecture, landscaping, lighting, and other amenities that are going to be proposed as part of that development.
And once that's drawn up, you guys okay it, and that's what we gotta live with. Is that all that was?
Are those drawings on zoning hub yet?
No, they're not. We're waiting for some additional information, but when it will go on, it'll be this week that the development project will be placed on Zoning Hub. And there they'll have site plan, architecture plans, lighting, landscaping, as well as, I believe the TIA should be part of that, which is the traffic impact analysis. And so we are working with that, and that'll be discussed and reviewed by the Plan Commission for a recommendation, not approval, at the March 30th meeting. If there is a recommendation to approve the proposed project as presented, or with possible conditions or minor changes, it will then go to the village
Mr.
board.
President, I'm sorry to interrupt. The very informed planning director of development, but this isn't on the committee of the whole agenda. So if you have specific questions about the timing of the next time this is going to come in front of the body for a public meeting, I would suggest you talk with Pete Wagner and he can give you all of that information directly, please.
Well, it was just one other thing I was concerned about. We put up a train trestle on 4 Mile for fire department, for emergency vehicles. If they gotta shut that road down for any construction, Now they gotta go all the way around where they're not, they could be stopped by trains or what have you. Just something to look at when you guys start doing this.
Okay,
That's why that trestle's put there, right?
thank you for your input.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And one other thing, the waste.
Waste.
You guys gotta be familiar with the sewage plant is already putting together, additions
Yeah,
on their,
Yeah,
because
they
we're
want us to
running
pay.
out of room for population.
they want us to pay for it.
Yeah, they want Caledonia to
Yeah.
pay for it, and we're already paying how much for our waste, you know?
Yes,
$23.
Mr. President, that's also not on the
Yes, ma'am,
agenda,
I
please.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
thank you. Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on. Committee updates, Ms. Pierce?
Excuse me. I haven't had anything, quote, new on Planning Commission. There is a meeting tomorrow for stakeholders for the subcommittee on the comprehensive land use plan, which I believe will be held here. It is not, as I understand it, a public meeting. Other than that,
Thank you. Parks and Rec, Holly?
Yeah, we actually had like a half-hour, 45-minute discussion on the future of Phase 5 for Crawford Park. We're excited to be working on a new splash pad, a new playground, and remodeling to the current building for advancement of our parks with our families. So, more to come.
Thank you. Visit Racine County, Fran, do you have anything to add?
No, we haven't had a meeting since the last time.
Okay, moving on to new business then. Sole source defibrillator purchase for the fire department. Chief, did you want to enlighten us on this, or did you guys get enough information in the packet?
We've done this before, haven't we?
That we've done this.
No.
Nobody's going to argue about new defibrillators.
No, I want a defibrillator.
S.C. Johnson donated.
do we have one in here? Out of curiosity.
We should, yeah.
Probably should.
Got one over there.
It's over there.
It's over here?
Yeah.
Like, in
So
the-
we can make a motion to move it to the village board then, if you'd like.
I'll make a motion to move the sole source defibrillator purchase for the fire department to the full board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It was unanimous right there.
Thanks, Chief.
6B, sole source equipment purchase for central attenuation basin. Did you want to add anything to that? I noticed Tony is out.
That's really Tony's.
Tony's baby.
Is there any board questions on that item? No.
No, and I'll make a motion, though, because I looked at all of the equipment and the explanation of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks to me as though it's what we need. So I'll make a motion to move the sole source equipment purchase for the central attenuation basin to the full board.
Thank you. Can I have a second,
I'll
please?
second.
Mike. Any further discussion on that item? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Fran. 6C, suggested items to be placed on future agendas with no action. Do we have anything that anybody want to? Seeing none, we'll move on. Continuing business discussion on potential revisions to Title 14, Chapter 3, Subdivision or Controls Ordinance. It's been with us a lot of times. Todd, did you want to lead off? Or?
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right, thank you,
President.
sir.
I would just start with, within your packet, there were a number of summary of proposed changes for each section, with the an understanding of what that change is and the reason for the suggested change. That was per Trustee Martin's request. That was for all chapters or sections, previous and future, meaning the one and the two today. You were also included with a red line version of the recommended changes, and that then there was also a clean version. I would note that to date, I have not received any comments from any trustees or members of the public, and that, it is hopeful for following the discussion today that we can get that the committee of the whole would recommend sending any revised changes to the Plan Commission, subject to a public hearing, and also subject to a neighborhood informational meeting with myself prior to that public hearing.
Mr. President, I have a question about how we're going to proceed.
Yes, ma'am.
There's lots of sections involved in this. Are we going to go section by section or recommendation by recommendation where each person can comment on it before we move on to the next, as opposed to a whole cloth kind of thing? How are we going to do that?
Was there a reason why, when we covered the other sections, questions or comments weren't provided at that time?
I think they were, but this is the first time we have seen you did a nice job of putting together the reasons behind them, and it gives clarity. So moving back through that, and there were questions and comments about those particular areas. So I'm just asking the board president, what's the most efficient way for us to talk about this?
I don't have a preference one way or the other.
It's up to you.
Would you rather go through them item by item, or would you?
Well, I think, he starts out with 14.3.1A title, and I mean, if anybody has a comment on that, let them comment and then move on to the next section.
I guess I have something to add here. This is obviously a radical departure from what we had before, and it's very dense. And what we got, from my perspective, on Friday was this completely different version of what our ordinance had been. So I think this deserves a very thoughtful consideration, and I think it's hard to go through this entire thing piece by piece without asking ourselves, why are we doing this, and why is the timing this? Because, for example, I was notified by someone who was invited to be on one of the focus groups that the invitation states the discussion will focus on topics such as housing, transportation, and natural and open spaces, and is expected to last approximately 1.5 hours. Your feedback will help inform the village's long-term planning efforts. So why are we asking people in focus groups to talk about open space and natural and open spaces after we're already presented with something that's changing that?
Those are two separate
That's why I'm asking
things.
about the timing of this.
Those are two separate
Well,
topics
natural
that
and
you're
open
commingling
spaces
together. And
go
so
together.
The first one, and what you're talking about with the stakeholder group, that's in relation to the comprehensive plan,
Right.
right? And so there are elements or chapters required that will identify a number of those things. I don't know that there's such a substantial change in what's within here, but I guess the point of breaking this up into three different meetings over 3 months was that you would propose those ideas, objections, alternatives at the previous meetings leading up to this final meeting. Now, if there's things that you're willing to or wanting to discuss, I'm happy to sit and discuss those all night. But I would also say that there's been 3 months and I have not heard a single comment from you
Whoa.
or any of your other trustees as far as an email or anything related to Title 14, Chapter 3.
That would,
Todd, that really is unfair because you work full-time. The staff works full-time. We're trustees. We have separate lives. This is a very part-time job. So I understand that you can draft this working full-time, and the staff can, and I appreciate the staff's efforts, and I appreciate the staff's expertise. But to expect us to review it in the time that we have available is a very compressed time frame. It makes it much more difficult.
Is there a specific area you would like to focus on right now?
Sure, the 15%, reducing it from 15%, from 60 and 40% to 15%.
Okay.
Now, let me say at the outset that there are I am not opposed to all of this, and there are aspects of it that I agree with. For example, in general, I think the trail system is a good idea. But when I look at this, it's hard to tell in practicality what this will really look like, because you have percentages and you have calculations. But what I would suggest is that the staff model this so that we could see what actually it would look like.
I have those.
well, and I'm going to push back just a little bit. In our previous minutes, we will find that there were discussions and questions and concerns made. And I think the first one, have I emailed Todd Willis? No, I have not. I waited to read this, and did I spend a lot of time reading this? Yes, and reading the comments from citizens that are actually in the village email system. The first piece that comes back up is, who directed the staff to make this level of monumental change to the direction that this village has on its subdivisions. This board did not give that directive. In the past, when we had the Legislative and Licensing Committee, we had 3 trustees that sat on that. It was common knowledge that we needed to always review and update our ordinances, and a good bit of the material that's in here does actually address things that involve both engineering and public works, and those things needed to be done. There's also some very good information in here on reordering how things go, which is, again, a very useful type of thing. But we did not ever ask to get rid of conservation. We did not ask to get rid of rural. We did not ask to turn public spaces out of private ownership of open land. We did not ask to take it from 60-40 down to 15. And if you look at the calculations that are in there and you try to work them through, you end up finding out that we're basically giving it away. We also didn't ask that developers be allowed to make a payment in lieu of open space in this village. So there's been a lot of comment and going through this type of material.
And I guess I would add to that, that the basis for it, I think, as I read it, is you, Todd, saying it's not feasible for development to happen without it. I'd like to see what numbers you're talking about. Feasibility is in the eye of the beholder. I mean,
We can go through a handful of different, we can go through what's in the current ordinance right now,
Mhm.
and we can go through what's in the proposed changes. I have them all modeled out for a 3-parcel project.
Well, I'm
and then
asking
you
about the
can see what those
feasibility.
look like.
I'm asking
Now-
about the numbers behind the fee. When you say it's
Well,
not
when
feasible.
when you
what does
look
that
at the
mean?
models and what I drew up, which is to scale, it is a parcel that is located in the village of Caledonia. It has wetlands, it has environmental corridors, it has open space, it has all of the things that we would be looking to make sure we're, maintaining those.
No, I'm asking for the calculation, the financial calculation that led you to conclude that that it has to go to 15% to be feasible. That's your
But
word.
see,
For
you-
you have to let me finish. To be feasible for developers. So I don't know whether that presumes, as the TIDs do, a certain level of profit in developers. I don't know where that conclusion came from. I like to look at things analytically. I like to have fact-based information. And I don't know what facts there are that support the conclusion that to be feasible, we need to drop from 60 and 40% down to 15%. That's what I'm asking.
Because what you're failing to realize is that while it's 60-40, we don't necessarily need to have 60-40, and you keep pointing to the 15%. But what you don't point to is that on the flip side, you're also getting the public benefit, which is either park space, green space, or passive and active recreational elements that are a benefit to the community.
They are,
So
and I
you're,
agree with
so,
that.
so
But
you're
talking-
changing, and it's not necessarily a dramatic change from 60-40. I would say the 15% can easily be negotiated, and that would have been part of the conversation we could have had, since I know you know about that since Friday when I had a conversation
Todd,
with you.
We got it on Friday afternoon. We have
let-
separate
let's
lives.
You-
This is crazy.
But you already know about the 15%.
No, we
And it
didn't.
was identified in the summary.
It was, we did not know
On
about that before
Friday.
then.
Well, but, okay, so
This is
what
unreasonable.
what I'm saying is
Oh my
I'm
God.
still uncertain as to if you were that upset about the 15%, why is there no comment or conversation with staff until right now?
Well,
Because this is
you
the
got it on
appropriate
Friday,
vehicle.
and I was busy all weekend, and I was busy yesterday, and I was busy today. That's why, because I have a private life.
All right,
I don't work full-time.
So let's let Todd go through his.
If you'd like to go through,
I'd like to
I
see what
just
you
would
got
like an
there,
answer to
Todd.
feasibility and what that number is.
But who gave you the
All right,
directive
so
to make
Todd
these
is, Todd is the
changes?
floor. Todd is the floor.
well, I mean, the ordinance gives me the ability
No, it doesn't.
because I have the ability to review and make sure, you're able to do business with the village. And this would be classified under that element.
Without coming to
No.
the
Whoa,
board.
whoa, Todd has the floor.
What you have here is a 3-parcel property with an environmental corridor situated with some wetlands. This is all environmental corridor, 3 parcels. They total, this first parcel right here totals 1,308,936 square feet.
What's that in acreage?
It would be,
60?
I'd have to
It's
do some
60
simple math,
acres.
but I'm not going to break up my phone. But you also have,
That's an actual parcel in Caledonia. Is that what you're talking about, Todd?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's an actual, okay.
This lot 2 is 441,000 square feet, 820 square feet. This one is 870,902 square feet. The wetlands within parcel 1 it equates to 601,254 square feet. This one has a wetland of 103,998, and there should be a little bit over there, I believe. And then lot 3, this one, wetlands equals 552,568.
Todd, if you could do those in acres, that, at least for me, would be, I can't,
I can give you those numbers and I'll divide them by 43,560, which is an
that'll be
acre.
helpful.
What you have here is just a simple traditional development with one phase, this lot, and what you would be able to do, you would be able to do today under the current code. And it does not require a subdivision. It's 3 3-acre lots, and you'd still have open space. Here would be your road. Like I said before, everything on here is to scale. 1 inch equals 60 feet.
Would this
So
be Seward or non-Seward with the 3 acres?
this would be non-Seward.
We don't, except for that R1, do we have a 3 acre?
This is actually zoned R2.
Or where we have the 3 acre allotment?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think our.
Because the rest of it is
You
5
would- you
acre
would-
and
You would need to have
unseward.
more than 4 splits for it to be five
Okay.
per 1 dwelling per 5 acres. So you have your woodlands identified, wetlands, your road, residential lots, which is 3, and your open space, because this would be left over. It's not necessarily required, but you wouldn't, there would be no
But
real.
Is this a
feasible way to-
subdivision?
No. Subdivisions are 5 or more parcels.
Okay, but we're
But
talking
we're talking
about
about
subdivision.
subdivisions.
He's getting
I'll
there.
get there.
He's getting there.
Just have to let me.
Okay.
If a developer were to come and they were to incorporate this second parcel within it, they would be able to do 5 lots. And these are, I believe these are 1 acre lots right here. All 5 of them are 1 acre, but the total area is 1,750 square feet. The total net area. So when you look at development or subdivision, you take out your wetlands or environmental corridors.
Mhm.
So this all comes out. It doesn't actually count. So you have a total net of 1,045,504 or 24 acres. Your 60% open space requirement would require 627,302 square feet. You should see that all right here. Max lots is 5. Your roads get deducted. They were 120,000, so those don't classify as your open space, which is why it kind of meanders through, but you meet the open space. And your open space, the open space in the design with the road is actually 604,508. So it does not actually meet the open space 60% requirement. And I don't have stormwater management design included, but that would be classified as part of your open space.
How is it having 1 acre lots in the,
In the R2.
Because the way that the understanding is that you can do 5 lots because you have 24 acres, and you divide that by 5 acres, you get more than it's like 4.8. It equals 4.8, so you round up based on the code. So you are able to do 5 lots, and that equates to 5 lots per 5 acres, roughly. It's identified in the current code. I mean, this is all based on what is currently in force today. So even though you do the 5 lots, it would more than likely be 4 because you would need to add one of the 5 lots to meet the open space requirement of 60%.
But you're saying that you're not including the wetlands in the open space requirement, and I
They-
thought we do.
No. You cancel that, you subtract that out from your total net available area.
So is that a problem in our ordinance that we're not allowing wetlands to be considered as?
And I don't believe that's actually changed in what was proposed.
No, I'm just saying, is that a problem that we have?
I mean,
I think
I
it
don't,
is.
I don't know anybody that really wants to own wetlands. Typically, they're dedicated.
No, you can look out on H and 4 Mile right now. There's a huge wetland piece that somebody just bought.
Right. I mean, that would be open for discussion if you want to discuss whether wetlands or environmental corridors should be considered as part of the development area. I guess there's pros and cons to both sides. So if we go to where we incorporate all 3 parcels, what you have is a total area of 2.6 million square feet, or roughly 60 acres. You have 1,257,820 square feet of environmental or wetland. So you have a total net developable area of 1,363,838, or 31 acres.
I need to get my calculator.
So your 60% open space requirement would be 818,302. So you incorporate all this. Obviously, it stops where the wetland starts, and you add all that. Max lots, 5 acre minimum is 6. So what you have here is 6 lots. All these are still an acre. This one's larger. The roads equate to 120,000 square feet. And in this design, you have an open space of 863,866. Again, I didn't draw out a stormwater pond for the 6 homes, but it would still be classified as part of the open space. So next we'll go to what it would look like with the current proposed ordinance as proposed. And we'll start with just the first lot. And so what you have again is that 1,308,936,000 square foot lot with 601,254 square feet of wetland or environmental area. So a total net of 707,682. That equates to 16 acres. In the proposed changes, we look to identify the maximum amount of units available as low-density residential. So that'd be R2 or R3. R2 require, yes,
Can I back up 1 second? How big is that entire parcel in square feet?
1,308,936.
Thank you.
Yes. So you have a total net acres of 16, and with low-density residential, the max you would be able to do is 2.2 units per, or 2.2 homes per acre. So that would equate to 35. But again, the challenge that would be upon any developer looking to do that is you have to have 20,000 square foot lots or 40,000 square foot lots in both 40,000 in R2, 20,000 in R3. With your open space requirement, you have 106,152. This area right here becomes, that's actually 108,108 square feet. So that would equate to your common open space, or the 15% open space requirement. The way that the ordinance is written is there's a public open space requirement, which for single family homes, it's 1,750 square feet per unit built, or 1,000 square feet of public green space for a duplex or townhome. Now, obviously, I mathed it out for what would be the maximum if they were to be able to get 35 units, which, as we can see, The most I was able to get in here was 13. And in the spirit of conservation subdivisions, this is not clustered development. I don't believe staff would accept this, and you would have to be more clustered. Clustered development is meant for the development to be in compact areas. You know, that way you're not encroaching as much on the remainder part of the property. Down here I have what would be the park, and that equates to about 16,000 square feet. And then the passive, which is your pathway here and up here, and then I believe there's some landscape or buffer area because there's a wetland, so one of the buffers is like it's got to be 50 feet away, typically 50 feet away from probably the wetland for a multitude of reasons, and then you'd have to make the home 50 feet away on this lot right here. But these are all 20,000 square foot lots, or just a little under a half-acre lot for 13 of them. Now, if you were going to do 35, 20,000 square foot lots, you would need 700,000 square feet. The total net of this lot one right here is 707,682. That would only leave 7,682 square feet for your park or your public open space and your open space. So it's going to 2.2 or low density residential is not necessarily the end of the world, because one, we're looking for cluster development, so we're not going to allow 13 units. And B, you have to be able to make, you have to make sure you have all of the elements. Stormwater design, I put 2 on here just for, because that space would more than likely be used for that, because there's limited space for it to go elsewhere, and I wouldn't advise making it go to the wetland necessarily.
Who owns the open space?
This
Yep.
would be common open space,
Who owns it?
the residents.
So you're talking about taking privately owned land and requiring it be used for public purpose.
Negative.
How is it negative?
Common open space. And
It doesn't
in-
matter if they
in-
own it.
In the ordinance, it states common open space, when you look at definitions, is for the residents within the subdivision. So this is going to be theirs. Now, whether they choose to have that open is up to them. But I would say because they're not getting, it's not possible to get the 35 acres, which means they're not interested in the 5% bonus that goes with that pathway. It's probably not getting built.
But if I'm
But
going,
these pathways do have to get built.
by who?
The developer,
For, and who owns those pathways?
the Village of Caledonia.
So the village is going to buy property?
No, it's
Donated.
dedicated. Public space dedication.
Who's
We're-
going to maintain it?
We're requiring that out of a private property?
We're requiring that out of a developer looking to do a subdivision within the village.
I thought we said this wasn't a subdivision.
There's more than 5 lots here.
Well, okay,
It's a
so
subdivision.
we've gone from what was not a subdivision into now creating a subdivision.
Even the second
as
2
you come
iterations
through.
on the other ones would be classified as a subdivision.
And who-
Anything over 5 splits on a land is a subdivision.
Who pays for the park?
Developer, and that
Who
is
owns the park?
the village.
And the village is going to step in and now be responsible to maintain these mini parks that really don't give anything to a subdivision, as well as walking trails that don't necessarily go
don't-
anywhere?
Give anything to the subdivision? Why would they not give anything to the subdivision?
The character of this village is not mini parks like Oak Creek. We don't need a basketball court sitting in the middle of a subdivision.
I don't think the way the code is written is it requires a basketball court.
Well, it references types of things such as
When
basketball
you get to a
courts.
certain size, this is only 16,000 square feet. And then you have to look at what is required as part of that 16,000
So
square foot.
how are we going to take on all this expense and cost when we couldn't even keep the park out in Franksville?
We already do though.
Well, I think our park and open space plan identified that people would like to have.
But,
Yes,
wait a
that
minute,
is-
that was 500 people out of a population of 25,000.
I sit on
Statistically
the parks,
significant.
that's what was
Trustee
identified
Pierce.
people wanted.
I'm sorry?
That's statistically significant, Trustee Pierce.
No, it's not when you take it out of 25,000 people.
Yes, it is.
Nancy, we do have those already though. Our park
Maple
and rec,
Park,
like we have
We
Maple
have
Park,
some
we have the
parks.
ones.
Chapel.
We do, but we're talking about adding how many constantly every time we do it for public purpose where we don't use them?
And if you aren't looking for that, you have an option where you can require them to pay in lieu of building the park.
Ah, there we go, the lieu and payment of usage.
Well, so you don't like the option that they're going to
I don't
have
think
to
it should have
create
public requirement in a subdivision. Public property does not belong in a subdivision. The subdivision is owned, the open space, by the people who buy in that
What-
property.
What's Crawford Park?
Crawford Park is not in a subdivision.
But Maple Park is. And so are some of the other ones on the east side of the village here. It was just part of the subdivision agreement. Whether or not they have a walking path or a pavilion or a small playground in it, we have a lot of those over here. In fact, we just did with Root Pike Wind, the one that's on the Prairie pathway down at the end of the 4 mile.
And I will note that you said on the east side, this type of project is not going to happen on the east side. We're pretty well built out on the east side. When we stop and look at what we have, and this is an R2, R3.
But
Well, I know the Southeast Regional Planning Commission said that one of the things that was identified is we do have a lack of parks on the west side of the,
Right.
of the.
But
of the
the village doesn't, the people who live here don't feel that way.
Well, and I do have a comment on that because I did go back and look at all of this. The survey had 500 responses. So
Which
The
survey,
QR
Fran?
the survey that Todd references.
Oh, yeah.
So that had about 500 responses. The survey QR code was only placed in parks. It was not placed at Echo Justice Center. It was not placed at any of the conservancy properties. It was not placed at Riverbend. So it have a self-selected bias towards people who want hardscape parks, not people who want open space. And if you look at this entire scheme, what's required are hardscape parks. What is permissive are open space parks. So even if you're talking about the parks, the only ones that must be in the public space, according to this scheme, are the hardscapes, tennis courts, basketball courts, whatever. The open space, the natural areas are not required. Those are only permissive. So when you have a biased survey, which doesn't address any of the people who go to those passive recreational places, I don't think that is statistically significant. I think it has a bias built into it. And I think the bias is for hardscapes, not natural areas.
Well, who says
And
that it has to be
even
hardscape?
even in that, pardon?
Does
those
it
Q-
have to be hardscaped?
What?
Does it have to be hardscaped?
No.
That's what he's
It does not.
presenting here, it does.
No, I never said it had to be hardscaped. I said it was a
Well,
passive
What if we just did
recreational trail.
Prairie
path.
planting.
right, no, that's not what it says.
Fran, that QR code was all over social media.
It
too.
wasn't, yes, but it was in the parks and it wasn't in any of the passive places. So what I'm saying is it was self-selected. I just don't think you can deny that. And when you look at what's required, Todd, in the public spaces, you require, you can call it active or whatever, and I'm not opposed to that. But what I am saying is that there's a bias in this towards the, I call it hardscape parks, tennis courts, whatever, and very specific requirements. They have to have trash cans, they have to have whatever.
And
And
that's
that's fine.
identified in.
Yes, but it
the
doesn't,
ordinance.
but what I'm saying is that anything that's a natural area, even though 71%, I think, of the people, even in this survey, said that what they really liked was walking and jogging in natural
68%
areas.
that was.
In natural areas.
And
That
those-
none of that is required here in the public space. It's only permissive. So to me,
The-
there's a bias built into it to move away from natural areas. I mean, I think it's an aesthetic view of the world. If you think that in order for open space to be valuable, it must be useful to people to be in the middle of it, That's a different perspective than if you think that open space in and of itself, looking at it, driving past it as a habitat is valuable.
So the language directly out of the park and open space plan related to the survey stated, open space survey where less than 29% of the survey respondents agreed that parks currently in the village of Caledonia meet their needs.
I know.
Younger age groups particularly
I read those.
also
Todd.
identified
We've
a
read it.
desire for additional neighborhood parks.
That's 1.4%
excuse
of
me,
the
I'm
population. Sorry, you're right.
Talking.
Sorry.
44% of those under the age of 35 and felt that having a variety of activity offerings at a park was highly important. Walking or jogging, 68%, and enjoying nature, 54%, were the primary activities that respondents from all age groups and geographic areas in the village. Potentially coinciding with this, over 80% of the respondents felt that preserving natural areas was somewhat or very important, and there was a broad support for improved bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure and safer, more accessible routes.
Preserving
What-
open areas, but this doesn't do that. It doesn't require it. It allows it as
You haven't even
permissive.
let me get to where I'm doing all three
Well, the rest
parcels.
of it is.
I'm just saying that when I look at the language that's in here, that's in what you proposed,
And if
that
I,
language allows, it says it's permissive to have open space that isn't, but it requires
So,
that there be some park space. That's what I'm saying.
it,
it's-
but it,
I don't think you can
when you,
dispute that.
when you,
It's there.
when you take this right here, this parcel, and you take the open space right here and the passive activity trails, right? It equates to 24%, which
I
is
think those
why
are- those are
I'm
paved
okay
trails.
if you want to adjust the 15%. I've never said that that it has to be 15%.
It's
You
in
took
the,
it that way,
it's in the document.
but I did not.
You said it's only feasible. if
It's a
50%.
proposal, and the way that it's supposed to work is we can have a discussion.
Wait,
And that's what we're trying to have right now.
Okay,
I-
well,
Can I have, let's just can we get back to the feasibility issue? Because what you gave us, Todd, I'm happy to have a discussion, but this wasn't proposed as a discussion. This was proposed as, here is what we want you to do. And you
Right.
said 15, we need to drop to 15% because that's the only feasible way that development will occur.
Because you're
So
still
what do you
requiring
mean?
open space.
So if you're saying it doesn't need to be 15%, then feasibility isn't the issue.
Likely, this
Am I
stormwater
right?
management pond does not need to be 1 acre, because that's what that is.
No, feasibility is feasibility for development is an economic conclusion. It's a financial conclusion, I presume. When you said it's only feasible for development to occur with 15% open space, I presume that what you meant was developers won't build, they won't make enough money unless we drop the open space to 15%. That was my conclusion about what you mean by
But you
feasibility.
shouldn't
Are
make
you saying
assumptions
it's
about
not?
what I'm
Wait.
proposing.
Are you saying that feasibility has nothing to do with, it's not a financial conclusion?
I mean, I'm looking at it from the fact that when we go back to the original,
Ryan,
when we go back to the original one, and we look at the road or how much space is in there,
you need to come forward just a little.
can you come closer to us?
Yeah, just move the chart closer.
So-
Come this way, Ryan,
Todd,
on the whole
move
thing.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just need to get out of there.
Yeah,
There,
you'll never
that's
get
good.
paid
That's
when
good.
she gets paid.
Well, while you're doing that, and I appreciate it, I looked at, so your 500 answers was a 2% response out of the total village people, listen to us, who live here. And if we look at our average age of who lives in this village, and I respond to what Holly says, right now, our average age is 60 plus, so I don't think many of them are in the skateboards.
So,
You know, I did that calculation.
You didn't get the back pages, Ted.
Yep, take your time.
You know, yeah, go ahead. But while we're talking about it, I did do those calculations.
That parcel, I did the quick rough math, that's about 30 acres, the whole parcel.
Okay. The
So,
the respondents were the ones under the age of 35. That's 44 people in the village that responded. So we're doing this whole thing based on what 44 people out of 25,373 people have said. I'm just finding this a little bit difficult. Especially since especially since the survey wasn't placed unilaterally across the village. So that's you can
I'm
go ahead.
certainly
I'm
not
just
going
saying I have a
to
problem with those
debate the merits
percentages.
of surveying and statistically
I do know about that,
looking at those. So do I.
and I also know if it's biased, which this was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
oh, you're having trouble there. So,
Yeah.
we don't.
Best laid plans.
So back to the, we don't need this one either. So you would still have, you're not going to need an acre stormwater. There's still an idea of more open space. But you do have the path or rec trail, you do have the park. And that's where, if you were looking for more than 15%, when you take the passive and active rec plus the open space, it equates to 24% of the overall design for just this parcel. So if there's a different number that works, and like I said, there would be more open space available because staff wouldn't propose 13 lots. This isn't clustered development.
Why wouldn't we have? To me,
Because the
cluster
idea of
development-
conservation subdivisions is to cluster the development
Right.
on smaller lots.
Right.
This is showing you how many lots I could get at 20,000 square feet, which is the low density residential, the max that's allowed based on the code.
If they were clustered.
No,
No, just
In
on the
general,
land itself. It's just a
2.2.
flat piece of the land.
2.2 lots per acre.
Yeah.
And if you use the math within the proposal of the ordinance, you'd be able to do 35. And I couldn't even get close to that because you only have a total net area when you take out all of this of 707,000 square feet. It takes 700,000 square feet to just create 20,000 lots or 35 lots that are 20,000 square feet. Roads don't count towards open space. So this all gets not added to the open space, and then you have a number of elements. You have the landscape buffer, which is also included, and would have been nice on 7 Mile on both my ride in yesterday, my ride in this morning, because that's going to stop some of that wind from blowing some of that snow onto the road and not getting cleared.
Just,
Following
this
that.
is for my head understanding. When you're talking about the public open space over here, and you clarified that would be owned by the owners, right? So,
Common open
so,
spaces.
so there's really two types,
Subdivision.
there's two types of public space that are wandering through in here. You're using public space here to say what we say is the easement area currently today, and then you have another discussion in here about areas that you say must be open to the public. So this space would not be open to the public.
Okay,
This
so
is
you know,
open to the public. This is open to the
It's
public.
there-
This is
It's there
for
for habitat.
the residents of the subdivision. So
So we're-
common open space is listed as
So we're going to start, because we currently do not have common open space traveling through our subdivisions, correct?
well, the idea of the conservation subdivision is that your open space is all supposed to be interconnected. I have yet to really see that.
Well, that doesn't exactly going to work, and I agree with you,
Well,
that's a
but
problem.
But that's why then, in this model, I show you a complete piece that equates to the
And
open space.
I
that
can
would be
appreciate
required.
that, but the reality is unless we plat this village completely at one time, where you go up and make that right-hand turn, that could be the dead end right there, because each developer comes in and does his project as he sees it. And this was a problem early on with the conservation subdivisions, we noted it. But
That-
each developer was like, no, I get to do what I want to do on my land.
Right. And that's, we'll get there. I have 3 more of these to get to the final piece so that we understand what's actually being proposed. This is just, as the proposed changes, this is what you would get. We would probably not say you're going to be able to do 13, so you're going to have more open space or rec area or however they want to do it, and then that becomes an element of the village board and the plan commission who review all of these before they get approved. So if we go to where we incorporate,
There it goes again.
now we have the second one. And so you have a total net area of 1,045,504 square feet, or 24 acres. Max units with low density would be 53. Your open space requirement is 156,825. Your public open space, if you had 53 single-family lots, would be 92,750 for single-family and 53,000 for a duplex or townhome. Of that 92,750, since what I did was modeled out for single-family, it would be required that you have 69,562,000 square feet of passive public space and 23,188 square feet for recreation. So what you have is you still have the 16,000 square foot park. You have another little park space over here embedded within this neighborhood, and you still have all the lots, which gets you to 21. You have a stormwater pond, which is about an acre, and then because when you're doing site design, similar to developers, you know, what will happen is sometimes they put a pathway around your stormwater pond. I mean, I've seen it when I've walked through a couple of the subdivisions here. So, and in other communities. Not necessarily ideal, but that's kind of what we have there. And then you'd be looking here to kind of extend it up. You know, we're constantly looking, so you have stormwater here, which would classify as common open space as well. Again,
And stormwater?
yeah.
I thought we said stormwater wasn't going to be open space.
It's still considered common open space because the village would not want to own the stormwater pond.
Got it.
So that way,
Got it.
the residential development is owner of the stormwater pond.
Got it.
I just don't have that identified on there
Nope.
like I do down there. So I apologize for that.
Yep, no problem.
You know,
Go ahead.
53 20,000 square foot lots would require 1,060,000 square feet. That's more than what these 2 lots combined have as a total net. Again, this isn't cluster development, and it would be hard pressed for staff to be bringing something like this and proposing it outside of, you know, feeling the wrath of the committees or from the board. Because it does not meet the definition of cluster development within the conservation subdivision guidelines. Lastly,
Yeah, should have got a box of Crayolas and made more color.
what you have is the third phase, 3 phases: woodlands, wetlands, roads, residential lots, common open space, landmark, or landscape and buffer, park, path and recreational, stormwater management. So total net is 1.3 million square feet, or 31 acres. You would be able to do 68 lots. 15% open space requirement is 204,575. Public open space, 119,000 for single family. That still equates to 24% total open space within the design. And then if you were to build 68 20,000 square foot lots, you'd have roughly 3,838 square feet available for just your kind of your open space. And that's not even taking into consideration the roads.
Are you saying that the subdivision would own all those wetlands, that what you're looking up in that left upper quadrant? the wetlands in that left upper quadrant, who would own
Right,
those?
and I mean, I guess that would be part of the open for discussion, or like every development is the same. If,
Right,
if the.
just
the-
as you bring this forward, as we look at it right now, who would own that land? The
It's-
subdivision?
As I'm showing it, is the subdivision.
The
would
subdivision,
still-
okay.
Still own it, and it wouldn't necessarily become, and so this would, this and this, these pieces, as they're connecting pieces to the passive trail, would allow the developer to get a 5% bonus, which
Hmm.
at 26 lots, they're not even getting the 5% bonus because they're completely built out to the most that they can. Oh, never mind, it's 27 lots.
Then who has the responsibility for managing the wetlands? If you don't have a conservation easement on this, let's assume there's no
And
conservation easement.
That would
It's
be,
just as you're proposing here. Who's responsible for managing those areas that are not in the common open spaces you have defined?
and you more than likely, if they wanted to, they would definitely be able to do a conservation
The
easement.
the developer or the
The-
homeowners?
Well, the developer in lieu of the homeowners, or in lieu of
Well, the developer
homeowners
would come
association.
first, and if I read correctly in here, all of our subdivision ordinances require an HOA currently.
Yep. So it would fall under the
So that would
title of
be,
the HOA. And so then that even adds more common open space. And
well, that's the question, is that really common open space? You're not using it for common open space for your calculation purposes.
No.
But we're acknowledging that it would be
Still there.
open space that is a part of this particular subdivision, Tiffany Does Pink.
right, and so what you see here and where I have it identified is that's the only place I went to calculate the 204,000 square feet of common open space. Now, obviously, this could all be incorporated in that too, and then you're probably way above even 60%.
But that's if we allow that to be added in,
Correct.
because it's wetland.
Yes. And so then the last piece, and really what should tie all this together, because there, this isn't cluster development. This is showing simple subdivision design to scale, but not taking into the basis of conservation subdivision. So what I did for the last one was I did it as a PUD. And so what you see here is the PUD still maintains everything as in the other plan. Nothing has changed. It's all still there. The park, the common open space, except for with the smaller lots, and you still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 half-acre, basically half-acre lots, but you're able to get 24 in a more compact area, which meets the idea of a conservation subdivision.
Who
And so-
owns the park
Well,
up there? Who owns that park?
that would still be with
B.
the village.
The
the park-
HOA or
the-
the village?
I would say the village,
So-
because it's public space dedication. So it's open to the public, just like that one is. And then there's a pathway or connectivity that can get
So that's
the
going to
kids
get,
that need a place to play,
as a
a route to
okay, so as
the
a part of
parks.
working with the developer is going to cede that land, turn it over to the village. It's not going to be a part of the parcel that the homeowners are buying.
Correct.
And the maintenance then is also the
How do
village?
we pay for that? We're just asking them to give us parkland effectively?
It's a requirement.
That,
As the ordinance is written right now, it is a requirement to do a subdivision within, with the proposed changes.
yeah,
To do a subdivision in the village of Caledonia, you would be required to give 75% of your public dedicated space to passive or, kind of this pathway and greenway. You're required to give 75% to the village, and then 25% needs to go to parks, which you also dedicate to the village.
wow, that's taking a lot of, that's a massive change from what our current ordinance does for subdivisions. I mean, that's forcing development to give to parkland in areas where we have not traditionally had them, nor have we had any request
to develop parks, significant requests to develop parks out on the west side of the village.
I can only think of one subdivision that, yeah, go ahead.
Just to give an example to support what Todd was just discussing, and one of the most recent subdivisions that was approved and is part of TID 5, sorry, there's just too many of those. Glennet Water's Edge subdivision, the one across the street from the
Viridian.
condo development that was
Yeah, the Viridian
that we've
Homes.
discussed. Yeah, that one was actually exactly as kind of Todd mentioned. That's actually a publicly dedicated park. We went through the process of taking the common open space that they were dedicating, and that was converted to a park. So there's actually an asphalt trail that was placed in there, but because it's also primary environmental corridor and a wetland with a ravine, obviously the maintenance there is limited and maintained to what naturally occurs within that situation. But there's an asphalt trail that's there for the pedestrians to enjoy, which I frequently see them using that. And as well, it was meant to connect to the next development, which was the condo development, which was supposed to be a full loop and an interconnected piece. So that one actually was dedicated. Holly,
That was the
remember
one
that
that
was
we, that was the
5
one
Mile
that we
Park?
talked about the naming for.
Right,
Yeah.
and that is in our urban
Oh, right.
area.
Last
and
year.
Yeah, that is
Last
urban,
year.
I agree, that's east of Douglas. This whole project and proposal on our ordinances does not really apply at all east of Douglas.
You know, I had asked Pete for a survey or a collection, I guess, of the available land that we have east in the Seward area, some already platted and some not already platted. So we know what we're talking about. So if we knew how much platted land we had in the Seward area, to me, that would make it easier to talk about, and how much of it is in the unseward area. Because we have a lot of definitions in here that relate to one area or the other. It would just be helpful to know what it is that we're talking about. Maybe in TID 6, it only can be 35% residential, and I don't know how close we are to that. So I'm just wondering
I had
what the
already
areas
provided
are
you
that we're
that.
talking about, and how feasible it is
In-
to even have these
In,
in the Seward area.
in my first memo, I gave an overview and went through every platted subdivision the village has done since 2002. That was already provided. And so, I mean, I know you asked for it again, and I think I explained that I had already provided that.
I didn't actually see that.
Okay. Well, it was in the first memo, and there was an
Okay.
attachment, and it went through every subdivision and went over all the open
Okay, I'm
space
just wondering
calculations
how much
from each one.
available land there. Well, I have one question, and that is, if we have something that's already platted, are they grandfathered into doing what they want? For example, the Thomas Tree Farm does not comply with this. It doesn't have any open space. And I agree with you that open space, I think it's a fundamentally excellent idea to have open space, especially on the east side of the village, and park space, because right until now, staff has recommended as long as I've been on the board, that we waive the 40% open space. And so there has been no open space in those subdivisions, as far as I know. So that part I am in total agreement with. I'm just wondering what, if there is already platted land, for example, Arnold Arboretum, would this apply to it, or would it not, because they already are platted and they've already platted out their lots?
If the plat was approved, it would, I don't believe it would
No, those,
need to.
no, this ordinance applies
Future.
forward-looking. It doesn't,
Prospectively,
yeah, it does not
to
look
any
back.
already platted
No,
properties.
those projects have their approvals, and unless they want to undo those and change them, these rules would not apply to them.
Okay, and that's why I asked for that summary, not only in the Seward area, but in the unseward area, because I'm quite sure, I'm not positive, that there are already platted areas in the unseward area. And the reason I think so is that they come up for renewal periodically.
I believe the
So I'm
only
just
one
wondering
was Bob Prohaskis.
what this would apply to.
Well, I guess when I took your question as those that you mentioned that have recently gotten their final plat approvals, there have been some that have been stuck in that in-between status, and I don't know how many of those there are that are pending final plat approval, but if you've extended it and given them that right, you wouldn't be able to retroactively apply the new rules to them.
Okay, and that's why I asked what they were, because I think there are some significant ones in the unsewered area, I think, just based on my recollection, that are already platted, that this would not apply to. So we're going to have this kind of hodgepodge, I guess, if we're doing it. That would be helpful if we had a map, I think, to see what it is that we're talking about. I mean, to me, these abstract ideas are not as helpful as seeing something actual. I tried
That is actual.
platting out, I tried taking the Thomas Tree Farm and applying these rules to the Thomas Tree Farm.
You wouldn't because
And-
that plat's already been approved.
Well, I know that.
This
but
is actual.
I know that, but I looked at the number of homes in it and the number of
As an
acres.
example.
And then I used your calculation, and it came out to something like a park of, I don't know, less than an acre.
It
6/10
will
of
always
an
come
acre.
out to relatively close, depending on how much total net, but every calculation I did came out roughly to 24%. When you include the public open space with the common open space, you get to 24%.
Okay, but the common open space, especially in the rural area, includes, let's see, parking for the parks.
Okay?
It includes structures. It includes in the rural area, the mound system and the well space. It includes the buffer. It includes stormwater retention ponds. And so I think that uses up all of the open space. So what we're not doing is preserving natural areas.
Thomas
We're
Tree
just
Farm
calling
used
it,
stormwater pond as
not,
open
not,
space.
I'm not talking about Thomas Tree Farm
I know
anymore.
you're not, but I'm saying it's already been
I'm talking
used
about the
or
unsewered
utilized
area.
in the past.
Todd, in the unsewered area, these things are all allowed. So when I look at it, it seems to me that what's defined as common open space, not the public open space, the common open space will be used up by the buffer. It will be used up by the parking for the parks. It will be used by structures in the parks, the mound system and the well area. Mound system take up a lot of space. I have one for 1 3-bedroom home, and
And-
it goes from this end of the room to that end of the room, and probably from that width over to here. So that's a very substantial area that you're talking about with the septic system.
And-
So when we're talking about open space, I think the village's view, my view of open space is a natural area. This is like the space between the road and the sidewalk. You know, that would count as open
No.
space. I know we don't have sidewalks. I'm just saying the buffer that you want in here between the road and the subdivision counts as open space. It's fragmented linear pieces here and there. It's not an open space.
It's a heavily, if it's on the road and it's an arterial or thoroughfare, which most of our roads going east to west are identified as, it'll be heavily landscaped. On those drawings, it's a 100-foot buffer of heavily landscaped entranceways, and that's to keep
Right,
and
but that's not a
maintain the-
natural area. A
Well,
buffer between a
what do you
road-
classify as the natural area?
A natural area is, for example, the Trout Ponds Prairie, or the area at the ponds, or the area in old, I think it's called Old Settlement, what's called Oldfield Settlement. Those are natural areas.
And
Those are, you don't have any areas like that. You're using up the open space.
I have
and
an
these
area like
extra
that in
things.
that drawing.
But you're
right there.
using up, yes, but by the time you calculate how much is in the urban area, in the unsewered area, I'm sorry, the amount that's taken up by the septic system, by the well system, by the buffer, by the structures, by the parking for the public parks, you don't have any singular open space. I think when people talk about open space, what they're thinking of is a natural area that provides habitat, and none of this does that. This is a streetscape.
I'm glad you brought up the
Really, it's a
idea of
streetscape.
the septic tanks, because
Yeah.
that's just another challenge with any subdivision development outside of the Seward
Right.
area of the village.
Sure it is.
So, I don't know what has been proposed as far as subdivision design in the village prior to my arrival, but I can tell you right now, I have none in the unsewered area.
It was
None
conservation
Since
subdivisions.
I've been here in September of '24,
The ponds
none currently in the pipeline. And so there are plenty of areas
Yeah.
where there's sewer and development can occur. The idea that this is going to create some level of oasis that development is just going to rush into the rural or the unsewered area just frankly isn't true.
Well, then why are we proposing all of this to allow it?
all I'm proposing is changes to the ordinance so that when development does happen in the urban area or east of Douglas, as you keep referring to, that there's an opportunity, we don't have to do waivers. You know, that we can,
I'm not disputing
I
it
know
with
you don't have a problem with stuff
I don't.
east of Douglas.
No,
And your
I
main concern
welcome
is west of Douglas.
I welcome
I
what
don't
hasn't.
have any projects coming in that area.
Well,
What I'm saying is, I welcome what you're proposing east of Douglas, because they haven't been given that before. Holly, that's something that I would think you would welcome also, because typically every single time, I think, the 40% open space has been simply waived. So those subdivisions don't have open space. They don't have a place for kids to play. I've objected to that in the Thomas Tree Farms. So I'm absolutely welcome this. I'm just wondering what's available for this to apply to.
Based on review of the ordinance, the wetlands would be required to be placed into an outlot. So that would still, that's in the ordinance now, and it's still going to be in the ordinance as proposed.
but if you have wetlands, well, you could have wetlands in the middle of a parcel. So I respect what you're saying about R2, R3, and really the only sewered areas we have that are easily available for development are along our southern section as it swings from the lake all the way out a little bit to the interstate. You can see that on our zoning map and everything. So that's the area you're really talking about, that someone might come in and say, let's do a new subdivision. Homestead Acres is a little different. I think it is unsewered, if I
I
remember.
think it's Seward.
Or is it Seward?
It's Seward.
It is Seward. Okay, I mean, that's fine. But the unsewered areas have had in the past some development. It could happen again. But I think when I go through and I look at a lot of the commentary that you've put in here when you talk about most communities, or there's a definition that's missing of what is exceptional circumstances. And in one of our meetings, and I do not recall who said it, someone made the comment that there will be no residential developers who will come in and do development anymore unless we put them in a TID, unless we support them underneath. If we pay for them now by current residents. And I think that's a challenge piece we have to look at. I don't remember who said it.
It definitely was not staff.
It was in this room is all I can say. But it is a point that has been reiterated in different forms. I'm going back to the job that used to exist in legislative and licensing when we sat and went through these ordinances. 3 trustees had those discussions with staff and Elaine about changes. All ordinances need to be reviewed, and there are appropriate changes. But the drastic levels of this one that were not directed by the board, we didn't come out here and say we want to drastically change our 40 or 60% either across the board. What we have said is east of Douglas, there is reason to do something different because just literally of the landscape and the fact that it's existed for as long as it has. That's fine. But to take and start pushing, this becomes a model of a way to push for Parks and Rec. I appreciate Parks and Rec.
I mean, well,
You
it's
look at
meant
what
to.
you
It's-
just showed us.
It's meant to push Parks and Rec based on the park and open space plan.
But that Parks and Open Space plan that you use the 2% return on a survey as justification for doesn't reflect the village as a whole. We have this loss of understanding what is our community, what it is, who do people want, what are they coming for? The people who are buying the larger lots in the unsewered area are putting up pretty massive homes. They're going on far larger than 5 acres, most of them. We're not even looking at those.
I did. I have all the data for the last 5 years for our building permits.
Oh, that'd be great to share. I mean,
Right.
it's been like 2 years since I asked Pete for that, and he gave it to me back then. I think I did share that last year we sold or transferred houses, about 253 houses changed hands in the village last year, and only 50 of those were above 500,000.
So between 22 and 25, the total number of homes built on 3 acres or more was 16.
Okay?
And then the 2022 to 25 total under 1 acre was, I just have to look, because I took some of them out because it was 2025, 26. It looks like it was about 98.
And these are non-subdivision, or these include subdivision development?
I didn't look at it from a subdivision
Okay.
standpoint. I looked at it from just a residential building permit. And so, you know, there was a number of homes. I think when you look at the average square foot home for those built on under an acre, they were 2,852 square feet. And the average home of the 16 homes built on 3 acres or more was 4,267 square feet.
Which makes sense. I mean, Prairie Pathways would possibly be in that area, which is a very good subdivision and that has had continued development in it.
The average acre for the average acre for homes between 2022 and 25 was 9.5, and then on those under an acre, the average acre was 0.35 acres. And there were some that I did remove because they were on larger, you know, we had one on Newman Home that was on 10.27 acres. I removed some of those, but this was all based on Seward, which is the 98 home builds versus the unsewered 16. And that's why I truly do believe the idea that this ordinance, as proposed, the changes, is going to lead to some huge amount of development. I don't see it.
Did you say 60 or 16 over 3 acres?
16.
16, I'm sorry.
16.
I had 60. Which is all, I appreciate having that information. I think we should know it more often. But I think that also underscores, and when you look at the even larger lots that are well above 3 acres, the 10 acres, the 20-acre ones that do exist out there, we're seeing consistent development in those large unsewered lots when people can find them. You know, we don't have a lot of open land that is for sale for people.
Well, when you have those, I mean, and there's nothing against having a large acre lot. I mean, and that is still, even with the proposed changes, would still be available, you know, and you still have Title 14.3.1 G3, which is basically the 5 acre element, or the requirement that you have 5 acres within your lot. And that's part of that minor subdivision or lot split. You still have to have 5 acres. That's not going away. That doesn't change with anything proposed here.
No, I appreciate that. I think the other thing for us to keep in mind when we start looking at these unsewered lots, especially, is these are self-managed sanitary and water systems. They do not put any pressure on our utility systems as it exists, because they do. They have their own septic systems or they have their own wells.
Typically, when I have conversations with Director Bunkelman, you know, when it comes to proposals for residential, that's the least of our concerns when it comes to the capacity of our sewer capacity rate within the intergovernmental agreement. It's going to be typically more your fast food restaurants, your industrial or food processing plants. Those are going to run a heavy strain based on where our industrial parks are built. But I mean, as far as residential, you know, it's not putting a huge strain on our current system.
It does not. It's simply a noted fact that that entire area, the people are self-managed. We're not utilizing or impacting our utility system.
Right. And that would also be a level of, you know, what would be, it makes it less enticing, I guess, for, you know, development within the rural area or unsewered area.
Could be.
Because, you know, while it may still be classified within the common open space, you know, I mean, and it is at the ponds. That's the way the ponds is. It's as part of their lot and part of the open space. It's at the front end,
Mhm.
you know, and that led to a number of challenges. Those homes were supposed to be 2-bedroom homes, and that collective system was built and to be for 2-bedroom homes, and they've run into problems, and that's
Those
a-
are far from
that's
two-bedroom homes. They're
correct.
great homes.
But I mean, you can have a conversation with Director Bunkelman on that very topic of what happened, but it makes it semi-prohibitive for somebody to come in and do that type of development, or say that they're going to do a 100-lot subdivision in the unsewered area. You know, where are you putting all those septic tanks? And are you finding all the people to buy those lots and build on septic? So,
Okay, so I'm going to circle back to what we started talking about, which is the timing of this. Because from what you're saying, there's no urgency at all to have this in place in the unsewered area because there really isn't any likely development going on there. This really is something that, to me, requires very thoughtful, careful analysis. And you've said nobody called you, but to me,
Oh.
I got it on Friday. I didn't have time to do that. What I'm going to suggest is that we look at this, consider everything that you've said, and come back and look at it again. But we need more time, Todd. This
and
is
you
too
would
much.
have more time, because the public hearing wouldn't be until the end of
I know,
April,
but-
so that's a
Yes,
month
but
and
you
a
would,
half.
yes, but you'd be
Trustee-
asking us to adopt this in the
Trustee
meantime.
Pierce is on the plan commission. I mean, all of your questions would be addressed. I
No.
would be having a neighborhood informational meeting, which would allow me one-on-one time to have those drawings up. If there are other ones that the village trustees would like to see, I'm happy to draw those up to
You know
scale.
very well that once it starts, it carries its own momentum. You know that. And that's why you want it to go through. Why do you want it to go through that fast? If it's not an urgent thing at all, then what is the necessity for us to today sit here and vote on something that we really haven't had time to look at carefully? We haven't had time to analyze. We certainly haven't had time. Between Friday and today, I had zero time in which I could have called you and had a conversation about it. I spent a lot of time just diagramming out chapter 6. I mean,
Moving it,
literally, just diagramming it out to see what comes under what subheading and figuring out what it was saying. So that's why I'm saying this seems to me way too rushed. I think we need to look at it. I'm not saying no to any of these concepts. I'm not saying no to especially to adding open space on the east side of the village. I'm not saying no to paths connecting it. I'm not saying no to public open space, but it needs to be carefully considered and not quantified so specifically as is done here. This is very specifically
and I would say
quantified.
you'll
And
have
you've
them,
said that 15% isn't the essential number. That's why I
Doesn't
think
have
we
to
need
be.
time to talk about this.
and to be honest, those drawings have a lot more than 15%.
But-
Those are already, there's more than 15% built into those.
Well, the other piece that underlies all of this is we have a subcommittee working on reviewing our 2035
Right.
land use plan, which by their very beginning, they said that project alone would take up to 2 years.
Land
So-
use controls are not necessarily, they
You-
don't need the element of zoning within them.
There,
Well, wait.
you can't have one without the other. Because at certain times we say the land use plan controls everything first, then zoning comes on top of that. Then you get building plans and suggestions and things. They lead from one to the other. So if this is important as an ordinance to move forward, then we're basically saying there's no reason to have that 2055 plan done at all, except for the state requirement that we should review it every 10 years.
Okay.
Well, then,
I will list off a couple of communities in Wisconsin that have conservation subdivision ordinances and do not apply zoning applications within their subdivision ordinance. They also have rural areas and urban areas. They do not classify between a demarker within the community, whether they're sewered, unsewered, none of that.
that would
They're
be
just
great to see those
conservation
examples.
subdivisions.
That's what I'm talking about,
Vi-
fuller discussion, but we haven't had
Village
that.
of Rib Mountain, no separation between the sewered or unsewered areas in the subdivision ordinance. no zoning applications within their subdivision ordinance, requires adequate open space and/or parkland dedication as part of the subdivision ordinance.
Now, I know
Village of
Rib Mountain.
Ridgefield,
Opposed, let's not
No.
interrupt.
no separation between the sewered or unsewered areas in their subdivision ordinance because they offer no sewer and water. No zoning applications within their subdivision ordinance, have issued no waivers to the ordinance in the last 16 years under the current administrator.
But this
Village of Bloomfield, no separation between the sewered and unsewered areas in the subdivision ordinance. No zoning applications within their subdivision ordinance. Has a great outline of buffer requirements in the ordinance, and reservation or land is required. Village of Swamico, no separation between the sewered or unsewered areas in the subdivision ordinance. No zoning applications in their subdivision ordinance. May require public dedication of land. Currently it has the same 4 types of open space dedication as proposed in staff's proposal. City of Muskego, no separation between the sewered and unsewered areas in the subdivision ordinance. No zoning applications within their subdivision ordinance. Plan Commissioner Council can require public recreation trails or pedestrian ways.
You know,
it's-
that's might all be very useful information, but for us to sit here and hear you recite it to us and expect us to vote on this makes
And
zero sense.
if it
That's
goes,
what I'm
if you
saying.
take
Give us
staff's
time to
recommendation,
absorb.
Well, we can't give
How can
recommendations
we give
with short
recommendations? We don't have
information.
you can take staff's recommendation to send
No.
it to the Plan Commission for a public
Well,
hearing.
that's going
Oh, no, no,
backwards.
no,
That's
no,
going
no.
backwards.
No.
And,
Why
I mean,
would we do that? We would be suggesting to the
Well-
planning commission, look, if we forward it to the planning commission, what does that mean? It means that we're forwarding it to them as something that they should strongly consider. And
Well,
we're-
you
I'm not
have
willing to do
2
that.
other certified planners that sit on your plan
Oh, but
commission.
that's a challenge.
Planners,
They-
urban planners, yes,
urban planners.
This is an urban planner's dream, I guess.
Urban planners, architect planners, I mean,
Certified
they're,
planners.
Urban planners.
So,
But let me go back, I'm going to jump back in. On Rib Mountain, I'm really familiar with it. I lived there. The difference in Rib Mountain in part is it backs up to a state park, and it got all of its open space requirements met by having Rib Mountain or Granite Peak, whatever you want to call it, sitting right there. That one, I can't speak to any of the others. I haven't looked at them. I will. I don't think this body should be sending anything down to the Planning Commission. That is not, except for the 2 trustees who sit on that, those people are citizen volunteers. Yes, we are aware that last year 2 urban planners were placed on it, but that doesn't meet understanding and really looking into the information that's on there. That's putting an awful burden actually on citizen volunteers. The information, as far as the ordinances are concerned, should be sitting up here at this level. And I still am always going to say, if we're going to have a comprehensive land use plan, we need to have them all so that we look at them concurrently and understand them, because they do interrelate with each other, no matter how the fact that it's only before planning, if it's on the land use plan or zoning first, before it gets up to the board, they all have to intertwine with each other. To use the language that says we look at them in isolation doesn't benefit this village.
so I have one question. Fran, may I ask you a question, please?
Sure,
Based on tonight's example,
yeah.
you don't consider the wetlands that are in that example to be open space?
Honestly, I can't make any judgment about that example. It just, to me, wasn't clear enough. What I would like is to have actual platted out, take any of the plats that we have, take
Yeah.
Audubon Arboretum. I know that we can't do it because it's grandfathered, but take that and plat it out and say, here's how many acres you would have of public open space. Here's where they would be.
So let me re-question
That's
the
what I'm
question,
saying.
change the question a little bit then.
Yeah.
So in your ideas, wetlands, those kind of items, are not open space to you?
They're,
Well, I
they're
think-
open, but they don't, but if we're talking about preserving open space, I don't think so. I don't think buffers are open space. I don't think mound systems are open space. I don't think parking lots for parks are open space.
Okay.
And I don't know whether you do, and I guess I'll ask you that
I'm
question.
just trying to get a read for what you're
Yeah.
thinking, because
Yeah.
I look at wetlands, and to me, wetlands are open space. in
Okay,
my
but
mind.
the wetlands aren't the issue. In the non-sewered area, in the rural area, we're talking about the mound system. We're talking about the well area. We're talking about parking, because I wrote all this down thinking like, how is this open space? We're talking about parking for the
Okay.
public parks. We're talking about buildings. We're talking about stormwater retention ponds and buffers from the road. To me, that's not true open space. It's grass, and I guess it would get mowed, but it's not open space in the sense of one area, one natural area.
But a swamp area could be.
That it could be.
Okay.
So Tom, I think.
Thank you.
Tom, I think with your question, and maybe Todd can answer this. Todd made the comment earlier, and I was looking for it, and I don't see it real quick in here, that wetlands are not allowed to be utilized for the
Anyway.
calculation of the 40/60. So they're kind of in a no man's land at the moment. They may be natural areas, but we can't use them in our calculations. Is that correct?
We currently don't use them, and I believe it is proposed that they would still not be within that total net calculation or the net acreage available for development. You take those out because they would be classified as an outlot. Now, who owns that outlot?
Now we're back into a different discussion,
That's
yeah.
a matter of debate and discussion, but, as an outlot for a subdivision, outlots are typically owned by the homeowners association.
I have another issue here that sort of overrides all of this, and I looked at it. It's in sub 9, 14 sub 3 sub 6 sub C, I think, sub 9. It's called performance standards, and it lists all of the themes that would be the theme of any of these subdivisions, and it has forest stewardship, water quality preservation, farmland preservation, natural habitat restoration, archaeological and historical preservation, integration of ecological resources, active recreational use, passive recreational use, in that order. So it seems to me that none of the open space that you've proposed in the non-sewered area, in the rural area, how would you possibly have enough open space for forest stewardship if you're counting the septic system and you're counting buffers and you're counting the parking space for the public parks? How would you possibly have enough space for farmland preservation similarly? Because you're counting as open space all of these things that aren't really open space.
Right.
They're bits and
I
pieces.
hear what you're
Bits
saying.
and pieces of open space.
And what I would point to is that under common open space ranking in order of significance,
Yeah.
which is,
It's what I just read to you, 14-3-6.
no,
think
I'm
sub
in
C
14.3
9.
C3 before that, and it lists believes should be, this subsection identifies area where the village believes, which the village believes should be preserved in order of significance. Some of these areas may otherwise require protection under other sections of the ordinance. And then it lists, first priority will be given to intact natural communities, rare and threatened endangered species, primary or secondary environmental corridors. So your woodlands are already off the table.
No, I mean,
They're
I
not
agree
going
with
to
what you
be
just said,
included
Todd.
within the development block.
I agree with what you just said, but if you're counting that as open space, common open space, then you're also counting as common open space the buffer and the mound system and the well area. You're going to run out of open space. You won't have enough left to preserve
But you
forest
don't.
stewardship or farmland preservation or natural habitat restoration. Natural habitat restoration doesn't occur in a quarter of an acre.
What natural
at 1
habitat
acre.
am I saving, or are we looking to preserve when it's a farm field and a farmer looking to develop a portion of his land? What natural habitat am I preserving?
What do you think
Upland?
where do you think the land came from the ponds? Where do you think the land came from?
Right.
Any of our conservation easements, those were farm fields and now they're prairies.
Okay.
That's natural habitat.
Right, and so you can
That's what I'm
still,
talking
you can
about.
still have that.
No, you
That-
can't because you'll have used up the open space by your buffer and by your parking spaces. That's what I'm
That-
saying.
I can,
That's my point.
I can almost
That's
guarantee
why
you
I'm
that is
saying-
well over 40% right there in that drawing, and that
That's why I'm
encapsulates
saying-
every type of environmental area we'd be looking to preserve. Your landscape buffer, okay? I mean, there's a good place for some conservation easements, or for you to put your natural prairies or any
You-
of the
This doesn't work
plantings
in,
that you want
this
to.
doesn't work in little swaths.
Well, you gotta
It just
start
doesn't
somewhere.
work that, I know, but
Okay.
And And I
It's
get
not
that it's,
preserving open
I get that
space.
it's hard to
How many
understand,
people say
but
that?
I would point to the city of South Burlington, Vermont, who incorporated this in the 1990s, and they have just as much, if not, comparable for open space. And they have open space and public open space dedication. And look at their city plan from 2024, and you'll understand that while you may be skeptical that that this is going to work, or you're gonna be able to walk from one area to the next, I would say, look at what other
I would
communities
love
have
to, but I
done.
don't want to vote on it tonight. How can I
Well,
vote
well,
on it
you- hold on,
tonight
hold on.
when you're providing
You
all
would-
this information?
Hold on,
that
hold on.
says-
You would have a month and a
Hold on.
half before.
Holly has the
public hearing.
floor.
Oh, sorry, Holly.
No, it's okay.
I know I've been going,
I'm-
but
I'm trying to balance this, right? And I keep getting brought up because I'm the oddball that lives east of Highway 32. As a trustee, since I've been doing this, I try to balance the different perspectives within this village and the different lifestyles.
as do I.
I know, no, I'm not saying you don't. I'm
Well,
just,
you're mentioning it.
I drive through our ruralistic characteristics every day, to and from work.
Me too,
And-
the other way.
And I love them. And it is partly why I moved to Caledonia. And I made it very clear 5 years ago that I didn't want Caledonia to turn into Oak Creek. And I still don't. So as I sit here, what I try to balance is controlling what happens, we'll say in the unsewered area, in the rural parts of Caledonia versus what happens in my side of the village, with the needs of the future Caledonia and the families that are growing up here versus the people that would like to be a part of our village because of the things that we offer. I think, I don't agree with moving this to the planning commission right now because I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. And I don't think it's because I necessarily disagree with Todd, because that's not it. I think we just need to flush some things out. I look at that and I understand it. I just don't see, I'm also trying to balance the ability for someone to sell their land in our village once they've finished farming or finished whatever they've used it for, sell it for what it's worth and what they would like to see done with it,
I agree.
and be allowed to do that, and then also allowed to have a developer, a good developer, come in and make I almost said a village, a subdivision, or something similar that we would like to see as members of this community. Right now, that's almost impossible for a developer to come in and develop something because we make it almost impossible. And I'm not saying, hold on, Fran, and I'm not saying it's because we want to make it that way, but it is. And I don't even see how a developer could afford that because of the cost of
Well, that's the market.
It's not the
and-
can, I mean,
Fran, let me finish.
all right.
So what I think we should do, because I don't want to make a future where we don't respect the rural characteristics of this village and people's right to their land and private property and not having people going through it. Can we agree on something for the next meeting to talk about, to come back and talk about, so that we can give our staff some direction on which way to go instead of, because I don't know about you, but I have all these confused now and they're all in different sections and
It was
we're trying
so
to find
hard.
pages, and not
Mhm.
because it was prepared incorrectly, but because I shuffled them all around and now I'm trying to put them back together. So can we pick a topic for next week?
Next, I mean,
Or next
2
meeting, I'm
weeks.
sorry. And that might
2
be
meetings from
how
now.
we have to get through this. If it
Well,
takes us
2 meetings.
5 months, if it takes us 6 months,
That's what I kind of suggested at the beginning.
And
I
that's
said,
what-
how can we go
Right.
through this?
and I got it. So, and I get it now, especially after an hour later. So can we agree on a topic? Maybe you guys can recommend one to us that you would really like to see us focus
Well,
on.
why don't
one.
we just start with 14.3, Section 1, which is the general provisions? I mean, I can look at what Todd sent out, and you can see all my orange spots that say, I have questions or concerns about just those pieces. So let's go back to 14.3.1 and just have a discussion on
Okay.
that piece.
I would be in agreement with that.
So can I do I have
Yeah.
to make a motion to do that?
Mr. President, can I just make a suggestion?
Of course you can.
And a couple comments just for context. So I was writing down everything that the members said, and I do actually see some inconsistencies in the common open space ranking section
Mhm.
and the later sections. And when Todd was talking about the netting out of what is buildable and what's not buildable. There are subtractions that are part of your current ordinance that are continued to be part of this ordinance to figure out how many lots you're going to be able to actually get on that subdivision. And you net out the wetlands, you net out the things that are not buildable, you net out existing rights of way, you net steep slopes out, all of those pieces out to get to what you can actually put potential lots on, and then you're supposed to cluster, right? That's the base concept. So those things are consistent, but I do see some inconsistencies with the common open space piece. But I also want to mention that there are things that have carried over, and I know, Fran, you were concerned about like what can be in the open space, and your current ordinance actually includes the things that you have concerns about, and it's because those things were supposed to be, for the most part, in service of open space, like a structure that serves the open space or a parking lot that serves access to the open space. And by that, I mean common open space. Under your current subdivision, you talk about common open space that is privately owned in fractional interest by the lot owners, managed by the homeowners association, but ultimate responsibility does fall to the lot owners.
Right.
That's the current provisions in your ordinance. You do, though, in your current ordinance, have an option for a public dedication, which is how you got Maple Park. So you do have that in your current ordinance. It's just not widely used. And the policy decision that's in front of you that is being proposed is that you make that mandatory in an effort to honor your your park and open space plan that was just adopted more recently by the village. And so Todd is proposing to use part of this ordinance as a mechanism to honor that park and open space plan. That's a policy decision for you. So in terms of a recommendation, I think about where to start, because I feel from a definitional standpoint, those policy decisions are going to drive the other pieces of your ordinance. If you're looking for a place to start and you're going to table this and do that, I think your focus should be on, do you want a public dedication component of your ordinance, and what do you want it to look like? Staff has proposed a mechanism for that. Look at it, decide.
You mean in
And-
general as opposed to the proportion?
Well, twofold. In general, and then if you like that concept, what do you want it to say? And staff has proposed that. So those provisions for purposes of direction,
Can you give us what that,
Yep.
what that is?
it starts in the handouts that were provided for this meeting. It starts on page 1 at the bottom, 14-3-6B.
The intent and purposes.
Wait, where?
14-3-6, requirements for design and improvements, open space is the,
Wait a minute.
Are
the
you talking
heading.
about page 1 of Todd's summary?
No, I'm talking about the actual ordinance
Oh.
text itself.
It's just-
So
So
the
this.
document that's entitled compare for, you can either look at the compare version or you can look at the clean version.
This is the clean version you're referencing, right? Page 1B,
Yep.
public
14.3.6.
open space.
So section 14-3-6, requirements for design and improvements, open space. It is laid out there for what the public open space dedication would be. And then there are, on to the top of page 2, there are specific amounts per type of lot that's being described, or home for single family, townhomes, duplexes. That would be the amount that would be required to be dedicated. If you had 15, then it's going to be 15 homes times that amount. And then it also goes into the kind of examples and types, which include playgrounds, mini parks, neighborhood parks, greenway linear park trails, which to Fran's point, you were concerned about parks, like active parks in the more rural area. You could make a policy decision if you like that concept to have certain kinds of dedicated open space in different parts of the village. That would be a policy decision. So then it goes forward into a payment in lieu, the pilot payment that was discussed, payment, and I'm sorry, not payment in lieu of taxes. Sorry, that concept was on my brain earlier, but payment in lieu of public open space dedication is the concept as an
which page is that?
alternative. So
It's
that's
on
on to
page
page
3.
3 and 4. And then starting at, then on page
Oh.
5 is the common open space,
Right.
which is still proposed to be owned in fractional interest by the lot owners, managed by the homeowners association. And that it was proposed at 15%. That's policy decision. It is a departure from your current ordinance that has the 60 and 40%. So that would be, I think, the second level of discussion. If I was recommending an order to you, because, and then you get into the open space ranking and design pieces and what's important for you to be in that open space or counted for open space, common open space, again, common open space. So I would recommend that be where you start, because those decisions are going to drive other parts of the ordinance. They're going to drive the definitions. And so those are really important policy decisions for the future of this
I
ordinance.
totally agree with you, but why wouldn't we start with 14.3.1, which is title and intent and purposes, which kind
Yeah.
of underscores
Right.
why we're doing this or what's up, and then move into that area. I agree with you. I have that area heavily marked up that you just referenced, because it is a dramatic change, and it probably takes more than one meeting to work through, because each of those sections you referenced are important sections.
Right. I like the idea of, as Holly suggested, starting with 1, because there it is, right? We just start there, and then we can agree on looking
And I
at
think what
that.
she's saying is that what she just described is also going to help us answer that one.
I don't know, because when I look at the intent and purposes of this chapter and the reason, and you look at the reasoning that's
I know.
provided to us in the overview, if we don't understand and agree on the reason we're doing this, why does it matter what we actually say we're doing?
But if we just start from the back end and go back, I don't mean all the way to the back end, but just if we start from somewhere else and go backwards, we may find a valid reason to answer that first chapter. Does that make sense? What
No.
our purpose has become is we want to.
But we already have a stated purpose. So there's already a new stated purpose in here. So which
But
way?
then we'll understand if we want to revise that and visit that, like you're
Right, that's-
suggesting. So we're
Right.
kind of starting in the middle and deconstructing it from the inside
Right,
out.
and I'm saying, I don't think that's logistically and efficiently, I don't go that way, but I also hear what you're saying.
Okay,
I just want to add, the reason I suggested that is because it's a standard in your ordinance. And I'm like, what is the standard that you want the ordinance to be and to hold people to? And that's why I look at that, because that's going to drive a lot of the other pieces of your ordinance. That's why I suggested it, but you guys, of course, can just start
So
where
can I
you
make
want
a
to
motion?
start.
yes, please.
Can I make a
The-
motion?
Go
Yes,
ahead.
please.
My
Okay.
issue with that is,
can I just make a
Holly
motion?
has the floor.
I want to make a
Yeah.
motion to lay discussion over to our next committee of the whole meeting.
No,
April,
It'll be April 21,
why April
Why?
21?
because the next meeting is April 7th, which is election day,
Oh,
which
right.
moved to the 9th, and then our clerk had the ABGBs because that's the week she worked so hard.
No.
So it'd be the 21st,
be April 9th.
We're not having a
Okay, so
full
April
board
9th.
meeting?
April 9th.
Because
April 9th.
we moved it because of the election.
Oh,
Right.
Right,
So
so
we're
April
gonna
9th.
we're gonna lay conversation over, and I'm gonna go with what Elaine suggested. So I want to say 14-3-6, correct? Discussion,
Are you adding this part to your motion, or is it just to lay the item over?
lay this over to discuss specifically 14-3-6.
limit this to only
that Yes.
discussion?
Yeah.
At this-
yes, we
at
need to
this
limit
point.
it.
And I
This
think
is-
that's
we
what we
can't
have to
the
do
whole-
going
I do too.
forward.
We can't, this is too much to grapple with at one meeting.
Well, we can have it.
with your motion so I can record it.
Oh, geez. So I'm making a motion to lay over this and then discuss 14-3-6 specifically on our April 9th committee of the whole meeting.
Got it.
So be prepared to talk
All right.
about that.
Second.
All right.
This one that
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
This
I
one.
Yeah. sounds
Yes, the 14-3-6.
good. Crawley.
think we all agree. All in favor, say
Well-
aye.
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 Opposed? Aye.
Nay for-
One nay.
Wait, you want to,
I didn't say aye when we were supposed to say aye.
he's in favor.
I think it's
It's only
unanimous
one
aye.
nay.
Okay.
No,
just
no.
nay.
Was there no?
I'm the no who says I
Okay.
would prefer to start at the beginning.
Okay.
But
All
that's
right.
just me.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you,
All right.
Nancy.
Okay, but I'm in favor of laying it over.
Yes.
I'm
so-
okay with laying it over. I'm just saying I'm
All right.
voting no because
So we're moving it till
my
April 9th.
preference.
All right,
Just that section.
April
Just-
9th might
yep.
change.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. It's a nice conversation going on. We are adjourned. Thank you.